Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Taurus. If Taurus is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, Taurus, let's go. And so we have the Hierophant tonight, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically just the chief priest, right? The head priest, the high priest. If you could imagine kind of like a most exalted persona within like a temple, a church, or whatever it is. So this is the Hierophant, okay? We know we have the high priestess, and we have the Hierophant. So kind of they are counterparts. The Hierophant is more of, I would say, the right-brained. It is more about logic and following tenets and studying the holy books and the systems and applying yourself deeply to the techniques and learning all the utterances and postures and passes and all these kinds of things, right? And I'm thinking of magic here. So we have somebody who's kind of a traditionalist, right? Somebody who puts a lot of stock into a system that has already been built, okay? So we're going to see how this really kind of affects the energy of the tea leaves. So we're going to see what they have to say. Okay, let's see here. And so I want to thank you so much for deciding to click on this reading. I know a lot of you are first-time viewers, but also have probably never seen a tea leaf reading in your life. Now, maybe some of you have grown up around people who read tea leaves. Maybe you yourself are somebody who does tasseomancy or tasseography, and that is tea leaf reading, and welcome to you. If you're coming back to the channel, if you've been here for a while, welcome back, welcome home. It's good to see ya. And let's get going here. So we have what looks like a face. It reminds me very much of maybe like a turn of the century newspaper caricature of the devil. Right? We have the eyes, we have the nose. Maybe even like, have you ever seen those little, they're like pamphlets, they're called tract. Tract, I think is what they're called, little pamphlets. And they cover all kinds of stuff. I think they were like from the flavor of evangelical maybe. But I don't know for sure. All I know is the artwork in them is outstanding. Now, I don't know that I agree with all of it. I haven't read all of these things. I've seen them. I know a couple people who collect them. They're really interesting. They're kind of, different. Go and look for them. the artwork is, what you would think of as like kind of 1940s, 1950s kind of stuff. But we have this kind of devil face, and you can see up here these little horns. Now, we also have a person standing here. Look at this. Almost looks like they're wearing a robe. The head is here. Their arm is raised up towards this devil character. And it looks like we do have another devil character kind of sitting here. You can see the horns right here. And sitting in a seated posture, not to double state that, but the knee kind of coming out this way. Now above we have an angel. You can see the head here. Here's the body. Here is kind of the wing. And it looks like we have another angel over here. Now we know that the devil or Lucifer in the mythologies is an angel that fell from grace because of his insistence. You can go and read about it. But I'm looking at this, And I want to say, first of all, the devil archetype, the way that I read it is often one of, it is somebody who wants to change things. It's somebody who comes in and causes some chaos. A very Eris energy. Okay, the goddess Eris. Or Discordia, the goddess of discord. This isn't always malicious, right? This isn't always something, malevolent. But what it is it comes in and it changes culture. It comes in, it changes your life. It is that thing, that rebellion. And that's really what it is. It's the rebellious spirit. And I feel like it is on all sides of you. And I feel like at the same time, there is this sense of really trying to hold on to maybe some of the beliefs or feelings about ethics or morality or whatever it is, how you live your life, how you make your money. Really holding on to these old ideas that you have. But at the same time, I feel like there's this conflict kind of brewing within you. And it's all about kind of pushing the boundaries. It's all about finding that next thing, that next place to be. And I feel like for you, it's not about fighting what you perceive to be evil, but it's more about allowing cognitive dissonance in your life. And what is cognitive dissonance? This is when we hold two opposing ideas, two things that don't necessarily complement each other. I don't know. There's a lot of, I can't even think of an example really exactly. But it's like, I don't know. I don't really know. Let's see. You know what? We're going to go on the Googles. I'm going to see if they will tell me. Example of cognitive dissonance. Okay. When someone believes they should be healthy, but they continue to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. They continue to do something that they know is not good for them. This one is an example of, let me just spell it out. SMOKING. If you can understand that, you know what I'm talking about, okay? You know you shouldn't, but you do it anyways, right? And this is kind of a cognitive dissonance. But it's not always a bad thing. Right? And that example, not exactly ideal. But yeah, sometimes we need to push our boundaries, right? Sometimes we need to open our minds to things that, we might not, for me, and this maybe isn't exactly cognitive dissonance, but I perceive myself to be a very asocial person, not antisocial, asocial. I don't necessarily like socializing. I don't dislike it greatly, but I don't prioritize it, right? I could be with my husband and my daughter and our cats alone in the world for the rest of time. I would be happy, I like to be by myself. I like to even, just be a solitary being as well. But as I've had my daughter and she's gotten older, I've made friends because she has friends and I get to know their moms and their parents and things, and I've made more friends and become more social. So for me, it really is this kind of cognitive dissonance where I don't necessarily want to socialize, but I know that it's beneficial. It's beneficial to the family. It's beneficial for my daughter. And also for me, because I've met some pretty wonderful people. Okay, so kind of maybe not a perfect example, but this is kind of the thing. And it allows for you space to grow. It has allowed me opportunities to do things that I've never done before. I've gone to places with my daughter, with the kids, and had experiences that I hadn't had when I was a kid, and and also just getting to know different kinds of people, right? And so I'm looking at this and I feel like there's this kind of, feeling of, it feels safe where I've been, but now I'm starting to feel like it's time to change. I want my life to change a little bit. I don't know if it's boring, if it's just not working, if you're miserable in the dynamic that you're in. Whatever it is, that wind is already coming in. The current has shifted, right? And so I feel like it's a good time for you to lean into some of those impulses. Now, be safe. Of course, be mindful. Don't do anything that is irrational. I know it's a terrible thing to say, especially to other women. But really, think about what you're doing. Don't be super impulsive. But it's somewhere in the middle of impulsive. And just go and try some of the stuff. Do some of the things. It might be something like you have gone to the same church your whole life. You grew up in this church. This is where your community has been. And over the years, maybe it has kind of fizzled out a little bit, and that's the case in a lot of churches, especially here in the Midwest. I know a lot of them getting smaller and smaller congregations all the time. And, a lot of people kind of looking for new spiritual homes. And so maybe it is like you go from one congregation. Well, I'm going to go out here and see what else there is. I want to try some different kinds of churches, congregations. And that might feel scary. That might be something that's like, I'm going against my family. This is where we've always been. I've always had the same pastor. I'm really close with their family, whatever it is. But sometimes we get the calling and we know. We got to get out there. We got to be brave. We got to go and see. Even if you do it quietly, right? Sometimes you got to do it a little more covertly, right? And that's okay. That's okay. This is for you, not for anybody else. So I feel like this is a wonderful time for you to be trying new things. You want to go try that hot yoga class, you go and do it. You want to go on some silent retreat, but you don't know, can I ever stop yapping? That's me. I'm saying that to myself, not you. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's see. I always think about, what if I took a vow of silence? It would be weird because I'm constantly going on and on and on, right? I do. So I do. The other part of this, and this is because we have the arm lifted in this way, I feel you not only in this kind of really spiritually sound place, right? Getting into this place where you feel very confident about your beliefs, your practices, the universe responding to you, and all of this. But I also feel you in the magician posture this next year. Okay, so these are two very active archetypes for you, and they are beautifully matched. The magician and the Hierophant. Okay, you can almost think of the Hierophant as being more of the sorcerer, with the library, or the alchemist even, with the library and the books, and they're, up at all hours of the night studying and researching and doing their different sciences and trying things and experiments and magical operations and things. And then you have the magician, right? The magician is maybe more based in the physical arts or, world building, basically. And these are not exactly the same things. These are similar and they are akin to each other. But the magician and the sorcerer can be very different. The sorcerer, more even, I guess, elemental. But it is somebody I would say is more academically, I guess, skewed. Okay? And then we have the magician who is, I mean, eking it out in the if you're a magician or an occultist, you know what I'm talking about. I think of like and I have a lot of background in chaos magic. So, I do. I think that I feel you getting very in tune with your intuition, your ability to see the patterns, the synchronicities, to begin to build the world that you want to live in. And all of that is about your perception. It's about how we meet our days. It's about how we talk to ourselves. It's about the things that we allow into our lives, what we bring into our personal space, into our sacred spaces, into our home, our temple, how we spend our time. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you saying to people? What are you thinking about? All of this creates the life that we live. Okay? So the magician, and also the Hierophant, but the magician in this part, is very intentional. What are you watching? How does it make me feel? Is it adding to my work? Is it taking me to new places? What am I reading? How is that influencing how I look at the world? My example for this is always true crime, because I'm a person that gets lost in true crime. I will listen to all the podcasts, I'll read the news, I'll get on the Reddits, all of this stuff. And if I immerse myself in that world and that kind of content, and it's not just content, these are real people going through real things, and that's why it's compelling, but if I immerse myself in that for too long, I start to see everybody as being like, oh, that person would be on Dateline, oh yeah, that person's sketchy, I don't trust that, they did this and that seems weird to me, or I don't like the way that they shake hands, or whatever. You get what you spend your time in will affect the way you perceive the world. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to spend your time with. That's up to you, because it's different for all of us, right? We all have our own preferences, and not only preferences, some things affect people differently, right? Where you might find something very enjoyable, it adds to your life. It destroys me. It just absolutely gives me anxiety. It takes me out of my mindfulness, whatever. One person's medicine might be somebody else's poison, basically. That's how we can think about this. So I see you really, really learning to go where you are going to find benefit. And that's what this whole next cycle is going to be about. Finding the things, those angels, those devils, getting everything kind of balanced out, and finding the thing that's motivating for you, finding the thing that gets you excited, interested. But more than that, growing, your soul, growing, growth, health, fulfillment, a wholeness. I don't know about you, but sometimes in my life I walk around feeling like I have a crater right in the center of me. I feel hollow, I feel depleted, I feel physically, emotionally, spiritually empty. And it's not like, a cleanliness or a lightness. No, it feels terrible, like crud. But when I start listening to myself, when I start noticing the divine, when I start doing the things that I know help me get back on my path, and I get to that place where, I start to feel like I'm pouring into myself. and moving towards that archetype of the Earth Mother. And that's really, I'm a Virgo, so that's really like peak performance there, Earth Mama, right? And when I start to allow myself to be in these places that I know work for me, meditation, active imagination, intentional movement, drinking enough water, that's a huge one for me. When I'm operating as a dehydrated being, I do not feel good. I am mean. I don't want to be here. I get headaches, all of that. So it's a lot of things, and it's personal to each of us what the work is. But I see you really applying yourself, okay? And ultimately, and I want to look at this, I see all of these people up here, okay, and they have these offerings. And I see over here, we have the sun and the moon kind of coming together. There's a balance, and I feel you really attracting people in. I almost wonder if you are somebody who is going to be doing something like counseling, life coaching. Maybe you do divination similar to this. You give guidance. Maybe you're a social worker. Maybe you are a teacher. Whatever it is, you spend time with other people, working on their wellness, working on your wellness, working on their growth, working on your growth. Okay? And I see these people drawn to you because you are. You're a being of light. And the more you allow yourself to change your world in the ways that you know you need to, that light is like a beacon. I feel like people really trust you. That's a big thing I keep hearing here. Trust. There is a lot of trust. And we have a fire right here. We have a person over here sitting next to it. So I'm wondering if you are also a storyteller. If you are somebody who, and I keep thinking about, like, you're the thread that keeps the family together, that keeps the community together. So I also, maybe it is that you're an artist, a writer, a storyteller. Maybe, again, you do divination. Some kind of leadership role in your community. Maybe at your work, maybe in your family life, maybe you're in your immediate area. But I see you kind of being that person that people go to when they need advice, when they need some kind of idea of like, what do I do here? Do you have any background with this? And you do. And if you don't know, you're going to find somebody that does. And you're helpful in that way. So I do see you kind of ascending as being the head of your little tribe, whatever that looks like, okay? Yeah. Now we also have the jackal, and we have somebody praying, 2 people, 3 people praying. So I do feel that there will be a loss here in this next year. Not necessarily somebody passing away, but it feels like somebody who has no inhibition. Like they just, and I hate to say this, but it almost feels like somebody in addiction or having like a mental health crisis, because it feels like absolute chaos just coming in. If you could imagine, right? If you are living on, and this is what I'm envisioning in my head, living on like an old farm place. It looks like it's like 1925 or something, right? 1930. After or within that era of the Depression, right? If you've ever seen pictures of like the Dust Bowl, those old farmhouses out in the middle of just, basically a desert at that point. Everything dried out, everything kind of blowing away, just very arid, an empty landscape, almost unlivable. And then you have this beast that comes out of the fields, comes out of the, the tree line, and it's a dog, it's like a jackal, it's very, ominous feeling. Going around the yard, just tearing stuff up, pulling at it, trying to get into the chicken coop. The terror of that feeling. That's kind of the energy. I mean, I don't know why this whole visual came in, but that's the energy. It's pointing me towards that feeling of fear, of anxiety, of seeing this thing approaching, knowing I'm going to have to go out there and do something about it, or I can try to pretend it's not happening. Something has to happen, though, right? So this is going to be something that I feel like it comes up later in the year here, maybe in a few months. But there are trimmers. So that's why I wonder if it's like a family member that's maybe starting to spiral, you're starting to worry about them, something like this, okay? So prepare yourself for that. Do not ignore it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to save anybody, because listen, we can't save people. But you need to fortify yourself, and you need to make a plan about what can you do. Oftentimes when these things happen, it can be like our adult children, our siblings, our nephews, our nieces, even our parents, people that we love. And whatever is going on with them, it's hard to navigate, but you need to look at resources around you, get on the internet, look for advice about maybe what processes you might be beneficial here, but preparation, okay? And just being aware that this might be coming. Okay, now we're just going to take a look. We have a big bear up here, right there. Look at that thing. So I do feel like this is it's like a reemergence. But we also have the snail. So I feel like the universe is like, take it slow, baby steps, right? I know that you're like the bear coming out of hibernation. You're like, oh, it's warm out here, and now I'm going to go get some food because I'm starving. I'm hungry. I've been sleeping for 3 months, But you need to pump your brakes a little bit. Don't go too fast. Don't be impulsive, right? So I think it's about slowing down. But there is this like coming out of that place that you have been kind of communing, you've been hibernating, you've been in a place of what's the word? Not stasis. I mean, yeah, kind of. But you've been cultivating, right? And so coming out into the world again, yeah, that can be exciting. It can be very exciting, but take your time. Take your time. Make sure that you're being mindful about your decisions. Okay? Now, we're going to do our lucky numbers. We'll do 2 lucky numbers, and then we'll do our wild offering cards. Okay, so we have 79, 72. Can we get another 70? 87. There was a 7 though. We got 3 7s, so that's good news. Okay, so we're going to do our wild offering oracle cards here. And this is just going to kind of punctuate the reading. And I'm going to flip through. I'm going to stop where it feels right. Self-love. Show me how to love myself. Show me how to take care of the inner child. Show me how to be kind within. When you step into self-forgiveness, so much can change on the outside. So much can change on the outside. All right. Well, Taurus, I love you and I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is my great honor. Absolutely. I know 2025 is going to be a wonderful year. It's not going to be easy. Don't let me fool you or fool myself. It's not going to be easy, but anything worthwhile is worth working for. So we're going to do that, aren't we? We're going to have a wonderful and successful year here. It's going to be one of progress. Okay? And I think that is manageable. I am all about making manageable goals, right? They don't have to be super specific, but, you know, something that keeps you going. So, I do. I think this is going to be a great year. We just got to keep ourselves motivated. That's the big thing. All right, Taurus, I love you. Take care of yourself. We're going to talk in a few days. Happy New Year. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Good night, good night, good night.